Hello everybody, welcome to a brand new video, and today I decided to talk about something that most of us don't really think about too much when we start getting into motorcycles, and that is the cost of it all. How much is it all going to cost? Like right now, you are maybe looking to buy a bike and all you can really see is the price of that specific bike that you want, and sort of think that this is all it's going to be, that you're not going to have that many more additional costs with getting into this hobby. But I gave it a thought in the last couple of days, especially when I was driving my car back home from vacation. It was like a longer ride, and I was really thinking about all the little things where I had to spend money in the first year of riding a motorcycle. So not just on the motorcycle like itself and the gear itself, but pretty much everything related to motorcycles, to my motorcycle, and what it took financially to get into this hobby in the first year. So that's what I will be talking about today. I really hope this is going to be an informative video for you guys, and that it gives you an idea of how much is it actually going to cost you getting into this hobby, at least the first year. I would also like to mention that this is going to be an approximation. I don't really hold receipts for everything that I bought, for everything that I spent on the bike and related to the bike. So this is going to be an approximation. So please take everything with like a grain of salt, please. It's not really accurate, but I would say it's 95% accurate when it comes to the price of everything that I'm going to say. So let's just get right into it and enjoy this video. So before I even started to think about what kind of bike I'm going to get, I had to pass my driver's license. Now this is of course something that is different country to country, but here in Slovenia and in most countries in the European Union, you need to have a specific motorcycle driver's license, and it pretty much means you have to do your driver's license again, just like you do for a car, but now you do it for the motorcycle. Now this process of getting your driver's license usually includes around 20 hours of driving with a driving instructor, and then the final exam. And the total cost for that, in my case, was 1,500 euros. But I actually failed on the first final exam, and I had to buy a little bit more hours with the driving instructor, and then again book my final exam again, which increased the price for 500 euros, so approximately 500 euros more. And altogether the driver's license cost me around 2,100 euros. So when I finally got my driver's license, I decided to get a bike, and I decided to get a brand new one, and it was the 2024 Honda CB650R. Now the base price of this bike was 9,250 euros, but additionally I got the quick shifter and I got the SW Motec protection bars, which increased the price to a total of 9,550 euros for the brand new Honda bike. So this is pretty much where you're going to spend the most money or save the most money, right? Because you can just splurge like I did and buy a brand new bike, or you can just save a little bit as a beginner and get yourself an older bike, or let's say a smaller bike with less displacement and less power, and you can save easily a couple of thousand euros here. If you want to splurge a little more than I did, you can also get like a more premium European bike that's going to be quite more expensive. So this is really a personal preference, but it really is like the biggest point where you can save the most money or spend the most money. So after I bought the bike, I obviously also had to insure it and register it here in Slovenia, and I did so I think at the end of April, when the motorcycle season started, when the weather was nice enough for me to start riding. And I just casually walked with all of the paperwork from my bike into the offices where you can do that here in Slovenia, and I just informed myself about the insurance cost and the registration and stuff like that. And if I would get the most coverage for my motorcycle. So pretty much every possible insurance policy that I can get, that will cost me 1,500 euros per year. Now, when I heard that, I said, hell no, I'm not spending so much on insurance. This is crazy. And then I opted for a little less coverage, which was around 700 euros. So the insurance and the registration altogether for the first year of riding cost me 700 euros. Now, please keep in mind that I am a brand new motorcycle rider, and I also don't drive a car for long here in Slovenia because I used to live abroad where I didn't have a car. So technically, for insurance companies here in Slovenia, I am a new, inexperienced rider, and because of that, my insurance is going to be more expensive. Now, usually every year this goes down, and I already checked with my insurance company that this year the same insurance is around 20 to 25% cheaper for me after just 1 year. So like I said, the insurance cost and registration for the first year was around 700 euros. So next to getting the bike, it's also a very good idea to get protective gear. In my opinion, you should just get the best and the safest gear you can afford. And this is just some gear that I bought and exactly how much I have spent on it. I pretty much bought everything at the same shop. It is an official retailer from Dainese, the Italian motorcycle gear company. And I just, really like the way the people in that shop treat me. They have very good, selection of products, and they advise me very well on the sizing and what do I need and what I don't need for my driving purposes. So first of all, obviously, I got a helmet, and that's the AGV K3 SV. This was around 200 euros. Then I also got a second helmet just in case I ever need it for a passenger, and I bought actually a used helmet, the AGV K5S. It was 280 euros. It was practically brand new. Just some guy bought it and then 2 hours later realized that it's a little bit too tight for him and decided to sell it. Then for the jacket, I got the Dainese Sport Pro jacket, which cost me 350 euros. For the riding pants, I decided to go with textile and got the Dainese Drake Air pants, which cost me 240 euros. For the gloves, I decided to go with the Carbon 3 from Dainese, the short version. They cost me 90 euros. But later I also got the same long version, Carbon 3 long, and they cost me 150 euros. Under the leather jacket and the textile pants, I also wear a base layer from Dainese as well. So the top layer and the bottom layer together cost me 150 euros. Later I also decided to get a tinted visor for one of my helmets, which cost me an additional 70 euros. Under the helmet I usually wear balaclava, which cost me 25 euros. And last but not least, I also got the Dainese Nexus 2 riding boots. They cost me 230 euros. So this is pretty much every piece of gear that I have for the motorcycle, for riding the motorcycle. And I just took everything, like I said before, at the Dainese retailer here close to where I live. I like to support, the local businesses, and they also treat me very nice, like I said. And whatever questions or something that I have, they are very helpful and friendly. So it is really not a problem for me to leave my money there. Now, the next significant cost that I had with this motorcycle is, of course, the fuel cost. So buying gas at the gas station. Now, this is a little bit specific for my case because I've done a lot of kilometers, 24,000 kilometers. That's supposed to be quite a lot, people tell me. So most riders that I know and meet tell me they've done between 6,000 and 10,000 kilometers. So I spend a little bit more on gas than your average rider, I would say. So I basically took the average gas price, the current average gas price in Slovenia, which is 1.42 euros per liter of 95 octane gasoline. and I just did a calculation with the average consumption in my case, which is 5.3 liters per 100 kilometers, and the 24,000 kilometers that I covered, it comes out to around 1,800 euros spent on fuel in 1 year alone. This is also specific for my country as well, because country to country we obviously have very different gas prices. So if you are somewhere more in the western part of Europe, you are going to spend way more than you are going to spend here in Slovenia. So when I'm riding in Austria, I sometimes do see the difference in the fuel cost. So yeah, this is just an approximation. And also obviously sometimes you ride harder and the fuel consumption goes up, and sometimes you ride softer, but I would say 5.3 liters per 100 kilometers of fuel used is the standard for my riding. Now, the next significant cost when it comes to riding this bike is, of course, maintenance. Like, especially if you're riding a lot like I am, putting a lot of mileage on this bike, you're going to have more expenses when it comes to the maintenance. Now, the first service of this bike when you buy it brand new is supposed to be at 1,000 kilometers, and that's exactly when I did it. But it was actually for free, because my bike came from the factory with a slight dent in the fuel tank, and they just noticed it a few minutes before they delivered it to my house. And they said that they already issued a warranty and already ordered the new fuel tank, and because of that, as an apology, they will also give me the first service at 1,000 kilometers for free, and they saved me around 140 euros there. So at 10,000 kilometers I had my second service, which was an oil change, an oil filter change, and I also changed my rear tire. In total that was 160 euros. Now at 14,300 kilometers I had my third service, and this was an oil change, oil filter change, and it was also the air filter change. Now this cost me 130 euros in total. So at the end of the season last year, at 18,000 kilometers, I have also decided to just change the oil and the oil filter again, which cost me 88 euros. And the last service happened at 21,500 kilometers, which was just an oil change and an oil filter change, and just like a checkup of the bike in general. They checked the brakes, they checked all the bolts and stuff like that, and it cost me 170 euros. Now, because I was doing quite a lot of kilometers, I went through more sets of tires. Now, this bike came with Dunlop Road Max Road Sport 2 tire, which at 10,000 kilometers I changed again for the same tire, and then at 18,500 kilometers I changed both tires again for the Michelin Road 6 tire, which I actually prefer a lot more over the stock Dunlop tire. So in total on tires I spent 630 euros. Now you can save quite a lot of money if you do the maintenance yourself. If you know how to do it, if you have the tools at home and stuff like that, you can change the oil yourself and save quite some money, especially if your bike is not in warranty anymore. And if you have like an older bike, I would suggest that you learn how to do the basic maintenance on your own. But my bike is still in warranty, and if I don't bring it in to a service, my warranty is not going to stay valid if something happens and I need to use my warranty. Now there are some additional costs that come with maintaining your chain, so cleaning and maintaining your chain. You have to lube your chain every 500, 600 kilometers, at least that's what I was doing, and I was using the Motul spray, the chain lube, and in 24,000 kilometers I went through two spray cans, and together they cost me 30 euros. I also cleaned the chain with the Motul clean spray, and I also in the last 24,000 kilometers I used 2 spray cans of that, which cost me together 25 euros. And I also cleaned the chain with like a chain brush, and this cost me 5 euros. One other thing that I bought was also the quad lock phone holder or phone adapter for the handlebar, and also the vibration dampener for your smartphone, so your camera doesn't die from vibrations, right? And that quad lock set for the handlebar cost me in total 110 euros. Also, maybe you are going to have additional costs with buying like a cleaning kit, like a set of brushes, sponges, and shampoos for your bike. I didn't have any expenses with that because I mostly had everything at home as well, and my brother was kind enough to buy me some nice stuff to clean my bike for the birthday, so there was no additional cost there for me. Those were pretty much all the costs related to the motorcycle, and all the costs that I had to go through to start riding a motorcycle, and pretty much every euro that I spent on my motorcycle I have mentioned here. Now I'm pretty sure I missed some things. There's always more costs associated with everything than you actually realized, so I could have calculated into this as well, like the cost of transportation, going to the lessons for the driving exam and stuff like that, going to all of these offices to handle paperwork for my license, stuff like that, and apply for this and that. Like with everything, there's a lot of hidden cost with pretty much everything you're going to do with your motorcycle. But the final sum that I came up with after everything was 17,300 euros. Now, if you ask me, this is quite a lot because the bike alone was 9,550 euros, and this is almost double what I paid for the bike. So if you are thinking that you're just going to, pay the retail price on your bike and that's it, you're off to have fun, I think you are going to be very, very disappointed, because a lot of costs await you down the road, and it just starts piling up as you get into this hobby. Because as you start driving your bike, more and more costs just start popping up, because you want this piece of gear, you want that piece of gear, that upgrade for the bike. Eventually you are going to go and customize your bike. I didn't do it as much, to be honest. I pretty much left the bike stock as it is, because I like it that way. I don't really feel the need to customize everything about my bike, and that's it. I also think everything until now was expensive enough, and I'm not really that excited to spend more and more money on my bike. I love my bike, but let's keep it real, it is quite expensive, especially if you are a younger person, maybe in your early 20s. That is quite a lot of cash to come up with just, for a hobby. And also keep in mind that when you start riding, your lifestyle will pretty much change a little bit and start to revolve around riding a motorcycle. So you will go maybe on these little weekend trips with the bike and with your buddies, and all of a sudden, instead of spending the weekend at home playing video games or just hanging out with your friends, you are riding your bike, having fun with your buddies. And you have fuel cost, you have food cost, you're going to go out for a lunch, for ice cream, for a drink, for whatever, and just all of these different costs will start to pop out, and that's normal. It's how it is, but just something to be aware of. Okay guys, I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to cover for this video. I hope you got a sense of how expensive everything is going to be. You can pay way less money, of course, than I did. You can get another bike, a cheaper bike, cheaper gear. You can cut corners pretty much everywhere. But, I just like to get exactly what I want, and I don't really look at every cent when it comes to my hobbies, to the things that I enjoy. Maybe you are different. Maybe you just want to save more money, which is great. Maybe you're more responsible with your finances, which is awesome. Or maybe you splurge even more and you're gonna get like a Ducati or MV Agusta as your first bike and whatnot. So if you're in that position, my hat's off to you. And I think the most important thing is that we enjoy and that we have fun. So like I said, hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I wish you a pleasant start into this motorcycle season, and take care, ride safe, and see you in the next one.